All right, just got back from watching Shelby Oaks, and so spoiler alert, if you don't want any spoilers, here's your warning. Okay, now this movie is directed by a YouTuber, and the first 10 minutes you can tell because it's shot and it was shot like a YouTube video would be shot, and a documentary. It kind of gave me off that Blair Witch documentary vibes, but basically the movie starts with a sister talking about her sister going missing and her three friends going missing, which her younger sister and her three friends are in a paranormal group called the Paranormal something. I don't know. It's irrelevant though, their name. Basically, they're in a ghost hunting group and a post ghost hunting paranormal investigations on YouTube back in 2008, and her sister's talking to a documentary crew about her disappearance and their disappearance. And some people on YouTube think it's just part of their content that they're gonna come out and make another video and they're like, we got you guys, like it's a joke or something like that. But no, but the older sister's like, no, my sister wouldn't do that. I know her. She would let me know, right, if it was like a content video thing they were doing for YouTube. But she hasn't contacted her ever since she's gone missing, along with her friends. And so, like, the first 10 minutes is shot like documentary YouTube style. And it was kind of annoying, but eventually they stride way back and it's just a movie again. So, the first 10 minutes, I would say, kind of bothered me a little bit, only because I didn't go there to watch the documentary. But I can see why they did it. It was just basically giving us a backstory, right? And they chose to do it in that form, I guess, because the guy who wrote this, Chris Darkland, is a YouTuber, and I guess that's why they shot it in YouTube and documentary form for the first 10 minutes. But after that, it's just a movie, so I'm fine with it now. Looking back on it, I can see why they did it, just for a backstory drop. And yeah, so the movie, it's good. It has an unexpected ending. The demon actually wins. I know, right? Most of these demonic movies, they get rid of the demon at the end. But no, in this one, the demon wins. Like, he just wins. So without going through the entire story, let me just give you the main parts of the story. The older sister, she's sitting there talking to these people who I guess they're filming a documentary. Maybe they're filming YouTube video. I'm not 100% sure on that, but while she's talking to these group of people in the opening scene, she gets a knock at the door, and it's the person who killed the three friends, which we later see in a video. But before I get into that, the killer knocks on the girl's door in the beginning of the movie. The older sister opens up the door, and he deletes himself, saying something to sort of either she wouldn't let me go, it wouldn't let me go, or I couldn't let her go. One of those three he says right before he deletes himself. And she's screaming, of course, obviously, and there's blood all over her, but she looks down and there's like a tape in his hand, right? So she picks up the tape. The police come, they take the body. Police ask her, well, hey, did he have anything else on him? Did he say anything? And she's like, no, because she hides the tape in her sleeve right here, so the cops won't take it from her. And the reason why she does that is later we find out her husband asked her, well, why didn't you give this tape to the cops? She's like, well, because I wanted to see it first. So that explains why she took the tape first. But so she takes after the cops leave and take the body, she takes the tape to her room, puts in the tape. She's watching the tape of the last ghost hunting video that her younger sister and her group did. And this has not been put on their YouTube channel yet. So this is a brand new video that she's the very first person to see it. and she's sitting there watching it, and in the video that she's watching of her sister doing this paranormal group, as soon as they get to the building where they're going to be investigating, her younger sister is like, well, I got a bad feeling about this, guys. I don't think we should be here. I think we should leave. And then like the other people in the group are like, well, we just got here, why would we leave, and she's like, well, I don't feel like we should be here, we should just go, but then cut to the next scene in the video, and her sister, I guess her younger sister's group talked her into staying there anyway and doing the investigation, because she don't mention like having those weird feelings or wanting to get up out of there anymore. So I guess it wasn't that strong of a urgent feeling where she needed to feel like, well, we gotta get out of here. And so the older sister, she's watching that video that the guy had who deleted himself, in his hand, a tape, and was Shelby Oaks on it. Which I looked up Shelby Oaks, by the way. Shelby Oaks is not a real town. It's a name off of a golf course. So I found that pretty interesting. Now I didn't look up the name of the town that the building was in, but I'm just gonna go off a limb and say that probably wasn't a real town as well, since Shelby Oaks wasn't a real town. But anyway, in any case, she gets to the end of the video of her friends investigating the building, and then a guy comes in and he ends up killing the three friends. And in the video, you get a clear picture of his face. So she pauses on the dude's face. She's like, oh my gosh, that's him. And when she pauses it on the guy's face, in the screen of the television, there's like a demon watching from behind her. So she turns to look around her, and of course, there's nothing there. Only the demon's there right in the black screen. But when she looks around, it's not there anymore. And so her husband walks in. He's like, what are you doing? She's like, you need to see this. So she shows him the tape. And then that's when he asks her, well, why didn't you give this to the police yet? She's like, well, because I want to be the first person to see it. And I don't know how police investigation works, but I'm pretty sure they probably would have asked her if she wanted to see the tape or not. And like just gave her a warning, like, hey, this is graphic. But she does end up taking the tape to the police. The police review it. There's two well-known actors in here that I can't think, man, for the life of me. But they've been, if you ever seen the movie First Sunday, I believe, with Ice Cube and Kevin Hart, he plays not the bishop, but the guy who's like the next in line. The deacon. He plays the deacon in the First Sunday movie with Ice Cube and Kevin Hart. And he's in this movie. And also there's another famous actor who's in this movie. And man, he's a well-known actor as well. But I can't really put a place of what movie he's been in. If I think about it really hard, I probably will be able to tell you guys. But I don't want to sit here and just like have my wheels turning and know until I figure it out, because who knows what I'll figure out, probably after I'm done filming this video. But anyway, they're two well-known actors. When you see them, you'll know who they are. But yeah, so she takes the tape to the police, right? And the police has all of this information on the killer. And apparently this guy's been in prison for like 5 years, right? In Shelby County, a prison. And apparently there was like a prison riot when she not speaks to the cops, but when she goes, because she speaks to the cops first after she hands the tape over to the cops. The cops tell her about the man who killed the three friends, right? Because we never see her younger sister get killed on camera, only her three friends. And she goes, then after the police visit, she goes straight to the warden, who was the warden of the prison where a riot broke out and where this guy was serving time for like 5 years. And he said he was really weird. He never talked to anybody. He was always by himself. He was silent most of the time. And whenever the riot was breaking out in the prison, his cell was open. He could have just escaped, but instead he stood in his cell and he just stared out the cell window. And that's later explained because he was possessed by the demon. That's why he was just standing there. But he was um wasn't paying attention to all the writing that was going on in that prison. So she gets that information. She writes it all down. She goes to the library, does some research of the prison. Where's the prison at? Well, she knows where the prison's at, but she's just doing more information on the guy who killed the friends and who deleted himself right when she opened the door, and he had the tape in his hand. And she's also investigating the symbolism, because in the ghost video that she's watching in the beginning, after that guy deletes himself and he has the tape in his hand, she takes that tape and there's a bunch of symbolism. Basically, just imagine a V like this and another V like this, and they're like intertwined like this. Basically, two V's just like that. I mean, it's a real symbol, like in real life, right? I know like a lot of different cult groups and just maybe even Illuminati, they use this type of symbolism. So, and you can find the symbolism even on the Vatican, so it's a real symbolism. Apparently, people put that symbolism to demonic worship and all that other creepy stuff. So, yeah, she sees that in the video. So that's why after she visits the game warden, she goes to the library to look up what that symbol means, which it means demonic worship. And also to learn more about the person who, deleted himself and who killed her younger sister's 3 friends, because it is on video. So we know it's him who kills them. And so after she finds out more information about the symbol, she goes actually to the prison. Wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. There's a part after she got done watching the video and she looks back, the demon's not watching her in the mirror, but only in the black screen of the television. She grabs a bat, she goes outside and she's looking, for whoever's outside her window. She's like, oh my gosh, there was something out my window. Because her husband comes outside and he's like, what are you doing? She's like, well, there's something outside the window. And then there's also a scene where after she gets done at the library, she goes back to her house and she's just sitting outside on her porch, and there's like this black dog. I guess it's supposed to be like a hellhound. I don't know the myth or the lore of hellhounds, but apparently they're like demon dogs. Right, so she sees a demon dog. I'm just gonna call it a demon dog. She sees a demon dog, and the demon dog's kind of like staring at her. He's not growling or anything. He's just like deeply looking at her, staring at her. And she goes back and she's walking away, trying to get back into her house. And she looks down to grab the doorknob to open up the door so she can get back inside the house. But when she looks back, the dog just disappears and it's gone. And so then after that scene, then she goes to the prison to, I guess she wanted to look for like more clues about this guy. I guess that's why she went back into prison. I'm not really sure why. I never really explained that in the movie. But she goes back to the prison, and I'm pretty sure that they shot this in Mansfield, because it looks exactly like Mansfield, and it's a real prison. It looks like Mansfield prison, though. I would probably bet some money that they definitely did shot some of these scenes in the Mansfield prison, because that's what it looks like just from the outside shot when she's pulling up with her car in the middle of the night. Why she went in the middle of the night, I don't know. Why her husband did not go with her, I don't know. Maybe he was working, but they don't explain why the main character just goes off by herself. to these places at night, mind you. And her husband's not with her. It could be he was working a late shift, but they never did explain why, you know, he doesn't go with her to the prison or to an amusement park, which was one of the last places that. Oh, I heard something while I was swimming this. Uh-oh. Maybe the demon followed me, but yeah, they never do explain why her husband never goes with her, and especially why would you go at night? But I'm pretty sure they shot this at Mansfield because it looks like Mansfield, so I would bet some money that they shot this at the Mansfield prison in Massillon. Oh, Mansfield, yeah, Mansfield, Ohio. That's where that prison is. But yeah, she goes there to the prison. You know, she goes up to his cell, and apparently where he was standing at, I talked about earlier, where he was just standing while the rioting was going on, he was just looking out of his cell window. There's like 2 footprints of his right there. I don't know how he got his 2 footprints there at all. Don't ask me. They're just there. 2 perfectly footprints. Maybe the demon did it. I don't know. Yes, there's a demon in here. But I don't know how. That's unexplainable right there. But anyway, she starts hearing noises inside the cell. She kind of backs away. You know, she falls down. And she's just staring straight directly into this guy's cell, the killer's cell, that he was at before he got released. Because eventually he got released. He wasn't in there for murder. He was in there for like something else. I can't remember what he was in there for. But she's sitting there staring at the cell. It's dark inside the cell. You can't see anything. And then like the dog from earlier that was staring at her when she was sitting on her porch, the same dog comes up beside her instead of out of the cell, which is just pitch black where she's staring at, and that's where the camera's focusing, right? And the dog goes, rah, rah, rah. She's like, ah! You know, and she gets up and run, and then out steps the demon from the cell, you know, and it grabs the dog. It doesn't hurt the dog. It just like grabs the dog on the back. I don't know why, but yeah, we see the hand come out of the darkness to grabbing the dog, you know. So she takes off running, and then she goes, after she goes to the prison, she goes to the amusement park, which is where her sister and her 3 friends filmed that tape video that was from earlier, that was from the killer, and it was in his hands. And she goes to that amusement park. She's sitting there walking around with a flashlight. Mind you, this is middle in the dark. I don't know why. She just couldn't wait until it was like broad daylight out. Hello. Or even in prison for that matter. But I guess, you know, that's just movie logic, right? Of course you're going to go all by yourself with no weapon. And you're just going to go out in the middle by yourself to a dark prison. And to an abandoned amusement park, of course. But anyway, so she goes to the amusement park after the prison, and she's looking around with a flashlight. You know, she sees the dog again, the demon dog, but this time the dog is just looking at her, and you can tell the dog wants her to follow him, right? And so she follows the dog up into like this house that's out in the middle of nowhere. First off, red flag. Okay, and out steps this old woman, another red flag. There's this woman living out there in the middle of the woods all by her lonesome, or up to that point at least. And she's like, oh yeah, you want to come in her old lady voice. And yeah, of course I want to come in, old lady, you know. I don't know. She goes inside. She probably was hoping that she had information on her sister, or wanted to ask her questions about, hey, have you seen my sister? Now, mind you that her sister has been missing for about 12 years up to this point, right? Because they went missing in 2008. And after she got the tape, she realized, well, those three guys her three friends are dead, which they later find the bodies and such because of the tape video. They know exactly where that is. But this is a whole new house out in the middle of this Zumit Park, and you know, she goes inside, and at first I'm feeling for this old woman, right? She's an old woman. She's living in this crusty house. I'm telling you guys, when I say there is mold everywhere, there is mold everywhere. How this old woman is even breathing inside this house is beyond me, because I'm pretty sure that enough inhalation of mold can kill you. But somehow, this woman is living in this house that's covered literally from top to bottom in mold. Everything is covered in mold. The house is dirty. She is old. So she's like, do you want to come inside? And she's like, she doesn't say yes. She just says, I think she says yes. But, so anyway, they go inside, the main character, and the old lady. They go inside, and she's like, oh, you must be hungry. Do you want a cracker? Like just a saltine cracker, like one of those white ones. I mean, I have them right now, and I'm covered. You know, at least I think I do. I probably don't. After I said that, now I'm curious to see whether or not I have saltine crackers in my drawer, but I probably don't. But anyway, she offers her a cracker. She's like, no, thank you. You know. So they go into the living room again. All you see is more mold everywhere on the walls, on the floor, on the carpet, on the table. How she's living there, I don't know. But anyway, the old lady, she sits down, and she only has one piece of furniture chair. So the old woman sits down in her chair, you know. She's just like, you know, I don't get a lot of visitors. Why don't you have any kids? And the main character's like, well, I don't have time for that. So you're telling me, I mean, I get, okay, maybe her and her husband didn't have time for hanky spanky, you know, but what about before, right? Because they've been married for a long time, according to the movie. So some point they had to have some hanky pinky time, right? But I mean, I get why she don't have time now, because she's missing her sister that's been missing for over 12 years. About 12 years. And so she's like, yeah, I just don't have time for that. And you know, she's looking around, and she finally asks her, like, well, hey, do you know anything about my sister? You know, she gives her sister's name, and she's asking a woman. She's like, no, I never heard anything about that before. I don't get a lot of visitors. It's just me, and it's just me. And the main character asks her, she's like, well, do you live here by yourself? And the old lady answers, she's like, no, I don't live here by myself. And then when they go into the living room, that's when that conversation happens. When the old lady is like, well, I don't get a lot of visitors. It's just me and my son here. And then she's like, well, is that who lives with you? Is your son? And she's like, yeah, that's who lives with me. And she's like, well, where's your son at? You know, because she's getting a little bit kind of nervous, and rightfully so. Red flags are going off everywhere. Okay, got mold in the house. This old lady living out in the middle of the woods. Yeah, I would say red flags. Ding, ding, ding. But she's like, oh, well, you know, I don't really. Well, where is your son? And she's like, well, my son is right behind you. So she looks over. And of course, what's on the picture? It's a picture of the old woman and her son. And do you know who her son is? That's right. It's the guy from the beginning who, in the beginning of the movie, knocks on the main character's door and says one of those three things. Either I couldn't let her go, she wouldn't let me go, or it wouldn't let me go. I think it's probably it. I'm not 100% sure, but he deletes himself. So that's the old woman's son right there. And then at that point, you know, that's when the main character, after she sees the picture of her son, you know, she's like, where's my sister? You know, because I mean, that obviously there's a connection there, right? Because maybe she would know what her son did. And she's like, well, I don't know where she is. And then just to get her off balance, the old woman off balance, after she asked that, she's like, well, you know what? I think I will take you up on that cracker. She's like, okay. Then the old woman gets up and walks back into the kitchen. Meanwhile, while she's in the kitchen, the main girl, she's like looking around for stuff and everything. And then when the old lady comes back, that's when she says, where the is my sister? You know? She's like, geez, you don't have to yell. And she pulls back a rug, and underneath the rug on the base floor is a trap door. So old woman opens up the trap door. She goes down the steps into this room. She's like, well, come on. You don't have to be scared. You don't have to be worried. It's a gift. So, oh wait, no, that's why. Hold on. Okay, guys, I'm sorry, I'm screwing this up. Listen, while she's at this old woman, right? She said, well, my son's right behind you. She looks, she sees the picture of the son with the mom in the photo, and then all of a sudden, she's like, well, hey, I will take that cracker that you offered me later. I am a bit hungry. That's when the old woman gets up, and while the old woman's in the kitchen, she's looking around for more clues and stuff like that. I mean, but what more clues do you need? But she does find a book, and inside this book is pictures of her sister and the guy who was in the beginning of the movie who deleted himself. And they're forcing her sister, that's been missing for 12 years, mind you. He forced her sister to marry him. So they had like a satanic ritual. And not only was he marrying his sister at the time, but he also was impregnating her, and every child that came out of her, they would the killer and the mom would sacrifice the babies that they were forcing the sister to have. This guy was forcing her younger sister to have with him, by forcing, well, you know what I mean. Then whenever she would get pregnant and have the babies, they would kill the babies and sacrifice the babies to the demon. Right? And there's like 5 different grave plots for the sacrifices that they did with these babies. And every single one of these grave plots of the baby have the V that stands up straight and then upside down like this. And so she finds that. Then that's when the old lady comes back in and she's like, where is my sister? She pulls back the rug. Sees the trapdoor. The old lady goes down the trapdoor. She's like, well, come on. I'm not going to hurt you. It's a gift. I don't know why she said that, but that's what she said. Okay? And so, the main woman character, she pulls out a knife that she actually took a knife when she first entered the old woman's house, right? While they were in the kitchen walking into the living room, she saw a knife on the table, so she took it. So I thought that was a really smart move by our main character, which does a good job in this movie. She's a good actress. She really is a good actress. But I don't know if I ever seen her in any other movies or anything like that. But she does a pretty good job acting here. But yeah, so from that knife, that she grabbed off the kitchen table and she's putting her back. She pulls that knife out. And she's like, she don't say anything. She just goes down the steps into the cellar underneath this trap door. And the old woman, she's like off somewhere. You don't see her anymore. So she's just walking down this hallway. All of a sudden, there's like a cell door with bars, right? And she runs up to it, and hold and behold, it's her sister, right? Because at this point, as the viewer, me, I didn't know whether or not her sister was alive still, or whether or not she was already gone. But apparently, just off the book that she finds why the old woman's in the kitchen. You know, the dude's been forcing her to have babies and then taking those babies and killing them and sacrificing them to the demon. And the mom was helping with this as well. So she goes down there, she sees the cell blocks with the bars, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, um, it's me, it's your sister." You know, she's trying to say, "Hey, look at me, look at me." You know, her sister's just a mess. I mean, rightfully so, right? She's been trapped down in this dungeon, been forced to marry. This guy's been forcing her to have kids. So she's distraught, right? She's just curled up in a corner, facing the wall. You know, she's just a mess, right? And the older sister, she's trying to get her to look at her, like, "Hey, look at me, it's me, it's your sister." Finally, she looks over and she says her name, and that's when she realizes, like, "Oh my gosh, that's my sister." You know, she's like, "Hold on, I'm gonna get you out of here." And believe it or not, where is the key to open up the lock? Right here. Granted, they probably thought nobody was going to find her, so that's probably why they left the key there. But you figured some of these movies, you know, they hide the key, then you got to go find the key and all that. But no, the key's right behind her. She takes the key, unlocks the gate. Meanwhile, while she's unlocking the lock, you know, we see the demon standing off to the shadow with its red glowing eyes and staring at her, you know, because all this came from a demon, right? From where they were younger. Her younger sister used to have nightmares. She got in bed with her to comfort her. And then whenever she looked over, she saw the demon looking at her in the mirror. I mean, through the window. And every time this demon looks through a window, guys, it always cracks the window. Why? I don't know. Maybe that demon's got like some power stare or something like that. Like, maybe I can crack my camera screen. I don't know. But anytime the demon looks through a window, it always cracks. Okay, that's the gist of it. But anyway, she finally gets the door unlocked. She pulls her sister. They're running up back toward the stairs, right? Meanwhile, while they're running, she's got her sister, and they're running up the hallway to get back up to the stairs. Who's following her? The old woman with the demon behind the old woman. So the demon is possessing the old woman, right? And so eventually they get up the stairs. The main character, she's like, "Oh, I gotta shut this." She looks back. She sees the old woman staring at her from the bottom of the stairs with the demon standing behind the old woman. And they're both looking at her. She's looking at them. And then she closes the door. She goes and gets ready to leave the house. And then what does the younger sister do? The one that's been trapped for 12 years? She grabs a knife from the kitchen and she runs upstairs. And so the main care sister, she follows her upstairs. She's like, "What are you doing? We gotta leave. We gotta leave." She follows her up the stairs, and they get to a door upstairs in the house. And don't ask me how, but somehow the old woman, I guess with the help of the demon, was already upstairs. And you hear crying. And what is that crying? It's a baby. That's right, it's a baby. And they open up the door, and the old woman, possessed by the demon, she takes her wrist and she takes a knife, and this is how they would sacrifice the babies to the demon, right? So she's cutting her wrist right here. She's trying to get blood all over the baby and such, which they actually do use a live baby, which I was surprised about. I'm sure it's not blood, but like covered in like red dye or whatever. But they actually used the real baby. I was kind of surprised by that. But anyway, they open up the door. The old woman sitting there, standing over a baby crib, chanting up. She's got that V symbol, that demonic symbol, right above her, the old woman, and she's standing up and she's giving praise to this demon. You know, she's saying a bunch of this kooky stuff, worshiping the demon and stuff, saying, "Please show him the way to hell," talking about the baby before she sacrifices the baby to him again. And, yeah, so the old woman, she pulls a knife down there, and now the younger sister, she also has a knife, so she's getting ready to go and stab this old woman, for what she's done, put her through, obviously. So she runs up to her, she's getting ready to stab her. The old woman's like, and I kid you not, the old woman, she uses the force. She lifts up the younger sister who tried to stab her, so now she's floating up in the air. And the other sister the main sister, the main character, she tries to run up to help her sister out, but then she gets knocked down by the old woman with her other hand, her using the force. I guess the demon is possessing the old woman and giving her powers. I didn't know this was Star Wars, but yeah, she was using the force. But yeah, so she knocks her down, right? And so while the younger sister's up in the air, she throws her back down to the ground. And then because the old lady did this to her wrist, like straight down here, she's bleeding out. So she like faints, and the old woman faints and falls. Then she crawls over toward a picture that has the symbol right here on the wall. And around the symbol is family photos of the younger sister and the older sister. So this demon's been wanting to not only get the younger sister, but also the older sister, because the older sister saw the demon when they were younger. And that's why the demon was looking through their window, right? Because the demon wanted them. But she only saw the demon that one time when they were younger. She only saw the demon again when she watched the video, which was in the beginning. But yeah, the old lady, she's crawling, and she puts her hand up to the symbol, and she says something, and then she dies right there, and then the demon just vanishes. I know that's weird, but that's what happens in the movie. But yeah, so then cut to the hospital. The younger sister, she's at the hospital. The older sister, she's thinking it's over. The police know everything now. The police know that she's been captive for 12 years, and they made her do all this bad stuff and what they were doing. And fast forward a little bit of time, and they're back. The older sister and the younger sister, they're back at the older sister's house, and the documentary crew is back there asking her questions like, how's your sister handling all this? Obviously her sister is not handling everything well. She said, it's going to be a long road ahead for us. And obviously, rightfully so. I mean, her young sister's been through a lot, obviously, right? And so they're just trying to get things back as possible as normal, but her sister obviously is in distress, which rightfully so, right? Going through all that crap that I already explained earlier. And so they go back. So no, they're at the main character's older sister's house. And after the documentary is getting ready to leave, the older sister is outside, and the younger sister is inside the house with the baby, because they also took the baby with them, because the baby did live after the woman died. Thankfully, they didn't kill the baby. The baby is in the room with the younger sister. And after the older sister says, good night, I love you, she goes to shut her door. And then she goes and says goodbye to the documentary crew. And, of course, the younger sister's not really sleeping. She opens up her eyes, and she grabs a pillow. And what is she going to do? That's right, she's going to try to smother the baby. She does not want this baby. So she's going to try to smother the baby, which I can kind of see it from her point of view, right? Why would she want, even though it's wrong, and listen, it's totally wrong, but I can understand why the younger sister wants to take out this baby, because it's not her baby. It probably reminds her of her terrible past. You know what I mean? Like, it's basically our baby. You know what I mean? I can't say that word on YouTube. But yeah, she picks up a pillow. She's going over to the crib. The baby's crying. And right before she's getting ready to smother the baby, in walks her older sister. She's like, what are you doing? You're not a murderer. Don't do this. And the sister, she just standing there, and she looks back at her older sister and she says, "I love you." And then she goes and tries to smother the baby. She actually puts the pillow. Now they don't show it obviously, but she tries to smother the baby by putting the pillow over the baby's face because she don't want that baby, right? And it's too much for her. And so the older sister, she goes and stops her and pulling her away, like, "No, stop this." But then the younger sister's like, "No, this baby's got to die. This baby's got to die." And eventually she was able to stop her. But while they're wrestling with the pillow, the younger and older sister, after finding her sister, after 12 years, she's been missing. This is when the twist came that I did not see coming at all. I didn't see this coming. Because typically these movies have a certain recipe that they follow. So for this ending right here, I give Chris a lot of credit. And it actually did it just kind of really surprised me that they actually went this route. Because in most movies, the demon loses, but not in this one. This one is not a happy ending. So if you're expecting a happy ending, don't expect it from this movie. But while they're wrestling with the pillow, the younger sister, she gets knocked back and she falls out the window. And she hits the ground. Boom! And so it's like her sister calls out her name, like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" She runs over to the window, looks out the window. Thankfully, her younger sister's still alive. She's hurt bad, but she's still alive. But then out into the distance, what do you think happens? That's right, the demon dogs that I explained earlier, the one that was always, now there's not only one demon dog, there's like 4 other demon dogs. So there's 5 demon dogs. And they just rush up on the younger sister and they start tearing her to pieces. Literally eating her alive. And at that point, I'm like, what the beep? Because I didn't see this coming at all. This was totally out of left field. That's why I'm really surprised that they actually took it there. I mean, here's your sister missing for like 12 years. You get her back for probably like, it's been a week after, she took to the hospital. And now you're already losing her to a pack of demon dogs that are just eating her flesh. Eating her alive. And of course, the older sister is sitting there seeing all this. She's like, "Ah!" Sitting there screaming and such. Like, "No! No!" And then, guess who's behind the older sister? Why is she screaming her head off? That's right, the demon. He's sitting back there smiling, right? Because he's happy. He wanted them. The demon wanted the older and the younger sister ever since the older sister saw the demon. He wanted to kill them. So, the demon was this waiting patiently. This is what I got from the movie. The demon was patiently waiting for them to grow older. And he was just waiting for his moment to strike. That's why he possessed the guy who was locked up for 5 years. The killer who killed all 3 of her friends and then kidnapped her. Because the demon knew that if he could get her, right, and that her sister would eventually go looking for her. And so then not only would he be able to get the younger sister too, but he would also be able to get the older sister. So that was the demon's plan. And meanwhile, between those 12 years, the killer and the mom were sacrificing the babies, their offspring, basically, because it is part of the younger sister still. So it still would be part of their family. That was getting the demon off, so to speak. But, behind her as the older sister's yelling, "Oh!" The demon stand behind her, smiling, because he knows he's got her. He puts his hand on her shoulder, and they do a close-up of the older sister's eyes. You can tell, boom, she's possessed. Now the demon not only killed the younger sister with the demon dogs, But also, now the demon totally possessed the older sister. And it just ends just like that. So the demon wins here. Not only did he got both of the sisters like he wanted. I don't know what's gonna happen to baby because the movie just ends. Or we even if I don't even know what's gonna happen to the older sister's husband because at some point they just kind of forget about him. Really, like he's there. I would say he's probably there like halfway through the movie, and then like he's not there anymore. But he does get talked about a little tiny bit. But other than that, well, the documentary crew while they're leaving, they asked the older sister, well, how's your husband taking all this, And I guess her husband still adapting to everything that's going on and such. There was a scene where the older sister was explaining to her husband about what happened to them as a kid when she saw the demon look through the window, but her husband did not believe her. He's like, you know what? I think you just need some help. He probably thought she was just going through it, but yeah, the demon wins. Not only does he end up killing the younger sister by the demon dogs, and first thing, let's talk about that. I mean, her sister goes through all that. And then her older sister finds her, takes her to safety. She only gets a week apiece, and then she dies this way. Wow. That takes some big canonas, Chris. It really does. I mean, just honestly, to be able to write that, be like, nope, no happy ending here. The demon's just going to win. And the demon does win. I think it may be the first. I'm going to go off on a limb and say, yeah, it is the first movie where I watched where the demon gets the W. And I could not believe it. I just really, really could not believe it. The demon gets the W. What about that? So that kind of surprised me right there. I thought it was they was going to defeat the demon and everybody was going to be happy moving along. But no. The demon wins. The younger sister dies, and the older sister gets possessed by the demon, and that's where it ends. So no happy ending in this one, and that's a bold move too. A lot of people like happy endings. I like happy endings as well, but sometimes I do like the twist endings. Where listen, that's life sometimes. Life ain't like the movies. I think maybe that's what he was going for. Was for that message, not every outcome is a good outcome. That's just part of life, Fortunately, that's the real world. Not everything is a happy ending. So I applaud Chris and his crew for actually taking that step and actually doing what they did at the end of the movie. And with that said, it was a good movie. Was it scary? No. I'm sorry to say that. It was good, but it wasn't scary. I wasn't scared at all going into this movie. Now, I was shocked. Not only at the ending, but also at the first part where the guy knocks on their door. And poof, I didn't see that coming right away in the first 10 minutes of the movie. Were there any scary parts? I mean, they try to be scary. Right? Of course, you got your jump scares in the movie, but none of them didn't scare me. But I do think it's a good movie. It's a good movie. I wouldn't go beyond good, but for his first movie, a YouTuber making a movie, yeah, I would say he did a good job. And the actress who played the main character did a good job as well. And the story itself, no, I like the story too. It's a good movie. I recommend you guys go watch this one. And if you don't want to pay a movie ticket, wait for it to come out and give it a watch. Will I watch this one again? I don't know. I mean, probably. I probably would watch this again, with somebody who hasn't seen it. Yeah, so I would watch it again. This was a good movie. I wasn't bored. I was a little bit frustrated in the first 10 minutes because I thought it was going to be a documentary, YouTube type video, but it wasn't that. Thank goodness, because if it was that, I would have got annoyed very quickly, but I can see why they did it, even though the first 10 minutes may be a little bit annoying. But they do that, but for background purposes and just to let you know, like, hey, a YouTuber. This is directed by a YouTuber because it's definitely a YouTuber format and Blair Witch Project all mixed in one. But that was the end of that movie, and I liked it. It was a good movie. I give them props, Chris. Good job, good job. Yeah, so I recommend you guys go watch this one if you guys are into the horror movies and such like that. But just know it does not have a happy ending, which it works for this movie. Really, it does work. Like the demon one. Yeah, that's just life sometimes. Not everything needs a happy ending. And I'm happy that they actually took that bold move too because it totally caught me off guard. Now, it's not, I didn't find it scary. I found it surprising. That's for sure. But nothing really scared me. And I'm a hard person to scare, so it just wasn't them, you know. I mean, one scene did scare me, though. The scene where she's looking into the dude's cell and it's complete dark. And no, I'm expecting something coming out of the cell, but no. All of a sudden, it's the dog beside her barking. And I was like, whoa! I didn't jump that high, but I was like, whoa, or something like that. So that kind of scared me a little bit. But other than that, all in all, it wasn't really a scary movie, but it was still a good movie. And I do recommend that you guys go check it out. He does have a channel up. He does still do movie reviews and such. And I know this is a long movie review, but there was just a lot to go over. As anytime I do any movie review. Well, my last movie was The Last Conjuring, and that was a bad movie. But yeah, that's my review for Shelby. I think it's Shelby Oaks. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. I think I said everything I wanted to say about that movie. It's just a good movie. I liked it. Yeah, I definitely like the ending as well because it's a direction you barely suddenly see movies take, and then sometimes it can be a risk. And they took that risk, and to me, it paid off. I liked the ending. I didn't like the Demon One guys. I only liked the ending because of the direction it went in. Like like I like it when movies export your direction or your expectation. When you think it's going to go one way, but then it goes completely a different way. I like when movies do that sometimes. Sometimes. Not all the time. But this was one of the times where, okay, that was a bold move, and I like it. I'd say it would pay off. So, good movie. Definitely recommend. This review's already been almost an hour long. So, I think I said everything I wanted to say about the movie. Go watch the movie for your guys yourself. I don't think you guys will be disappointed watching in this movie. It's a good movie. Is it one of the best scary movies or horror movies or demon movies that I've ever seen? No. But, I mean, it's a good movie. It's not a bad movie. It's a decent movie. So, yeah. I recommend it. Maybe it'll scare you. But I'm just a hard person to scare in general. But, yeah. Other than that one jump scare. But I was mostly surprised throughout this movie. I'm not even scared. But, yeah. That's my review of Shelby Oaks from Chris. And thank you guys so much for watching. And I will see you guys in the next one.